NFL schedule, which will be revealed inside the home of Super Bowl 56 with Rich Eisen and the gang right here on NFL Network at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, we do already know Game 1 of 272, which comes to us from the home of Super Bowl 55 and the Super Bowl 55 champion Tampa Bay Bucs as they kick off the quest to go for 2, hosting a team in the Dallas Cowboys looking for their first Super Bowl appearance in nearly 30 years. It's the return of Dak, all as the Bucs bring Lombardi back. It's Kickoff 2021. It's the marquee matchup. It's your name and lights, your highlight to the Week 1 lineup, but just one piece to the star-studded Week 1 schedule, now out in its entirety. So here you go. Tickets already available. NFL.com/tickets for all these fantastic Week 1 games. Like, for the first time in more than a decade, a team other than the Patriots defending the AFC East crown as the Bills host the Steelers. That a new kick on CBS. How about a rematch of that AFC divisional matchup last year when the Browns go back to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs? Blake Bortles and the Packers taking on the Saints in New Orleans. Relax, Packers fans, just messing. We'll get to the Aaron Rodgers portion of the schedule here shortly. All as we now say hello and welcome to Cynthia Freeland, to Super Bowl champion Willie McGinest, to Super Bowl champion Chris Harris Jr. joining us here today, whose LA Chargers get ready for a Week 1 matchup cross-country against the Washington football team. And Chris, let me start with you here, buddy, because this is always interesting with the Week 1 games. What really sparks your interest with this marquee matchup here, Cowboys and Bucs?
Yeah. Man, seeing Dak come back healthy, you want to see him come out with a good start, gel with that offense, with the weapons they have, but they're going against one of the possibly the top defense in the league. And Tom Brady, he has a great track record going against the Bucs being 5-0, so I got to give the upper hand to the Bucs on that first week.
Yeah, when you talk about Dak coming back and all the excitement, Chris, with that offense and the numbers they were putting up before he got injured, they're going against, in my opinion, the number 1 defense in the league, the Tampa Bay Bucs. You see what they did to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Didn't give up a touchdown, and they also understand it. But the Cowboys also went in this offseason and the draft, and they retooled their defense, okay? 8 out of the 11 picks in the draft were defensive players. They understood that they were giving up points, big plays, and wasn't very good at stopping the run or big plays in the passing game. So with Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator, now, we're going to see how this defense is going to look against one of the best and put together and well-balanced offenses against the Bucs in the league.
I think we all kind of said it, but it's all about these defensive coordinators. I think we all talk about the offense. We talk about Dak. We talk about Tom Brady. But Todd Bowles, we need to say his name in this show because he orchestrated an amazing defensive situation in that Super Bowl. And you don't think he's dialing it up again? I think we'd be crazy to think anything else.
And Tom Brady already with the most Week 1 wins in the NFL since 1950. If he gets a win this year against the Cowboys, would give him 15. Meanwhile, let's get to the other 15 matchups of the Week 1 schedule here. And so with that, Chris Harris, as you get a look around those other 15 games, which matchup really jumps out at you?
I like the Bills versus Steelers matchup. I think that's a key matchup that you can see in the playoffs later on in the year. Josh Allen coming back from a great season last year, winning the AFC North. So that's going to be a huge game, or AFC East. So it's going to be a huge game to see them go against that Steeler defense. And seeing Big Ben go against the Bills revamped D-line, man. They got a great D-line, great defense. But I got to go with the Bills on that pick. Yeah,
and I like the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Browns. Okay, the Chiefs coming off a sour taste in their mouth at the Super Bowl, didn't score like I said. Everybody was in a bad mood after that game. And what happens to champions or to teams that go to the Super Bowl and lose bad? They come back with a big chip on their shoulder. They're going against the Browns, a Browns that was really good, went into the playoffs, but needed help on the defensive side. So what do they do in the offseason? They go out and get Jadeveon Clowney. They bring over Tack McKinley. They draft Cormora. They get players to help them on the defensive side and a cornerback to help on the defensive side of the ball so they can tool up and be more balanced. So I think when you look at it on paper in both of these teams, how they finished last year, this is a well-balanced matchup that's going to be an exciting game.
Well, I'm excited to see our friend Chris go all the way across the country to face the Washington football team because obviously the reigning rookie of the year last year on offense and reigning rookie of the year on defense. True. It's going to be a fun matchup. It's going to be a fast start to the season. I think both of these teams are going to be playoff contenders. So why not? Chris, you're going to give us a good game, right?
Yeah.
Put him on the spot.
No big deal. No big deal.
What you got for Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin? Chris, what do you think?
Hey, man, it's going to be a great matchup, man. And, we coming ready, man. I think we've had a great start to OTAs with Coach Staley. And on the defensive side, we feel confident matching up with anybody this year.
I know you do. Also, major intrigue. The international schedule is back and will be comprised of 2 games in London this year. It could very well feature prominently 4 of the top 6 draft picks, including the top 2 quarterbacks when Trevor Lawrence and the Jags take on the Dolphins in Week 6, and when Zach Wilson and the Jets face off against the Falcons in Week 5. More on those 2 QBs still to come as we kick off a look around the league schedule release landscape with some insight on another team who took a quarterback in the first round from Mike Giardi in New England.
Thank you, Red. I declare that this should be a national holiday. The Patriots and their social media team doing it. There are little figurines that they're going to show on Twitter and on Instagram revealing each game. This is James White. Pretty well done. And he's getting the figurine for the Miami Dolphins game. That is Week 1, 4:25 here at Gillette Stadium. Brian Flores and Bill Belichick going head-to-head again. And Brian Flores has held his own against his former mentor here in New England. 2-2 with the Dolphins, including a huge win 2 years ago that knocked the Patriots out of the top seed in the AFC, dropped them into the wild card playoff game, which they lost to the Tennessee Titans. And then we know Tom Brady went bye-bye. So Week 1, it'll be Patriots and Dolphins. Now let's go to New York, where Kim Jones has both the Jets and Giants covered.
Thanks so much, Mike. Let's go ahead and start with the New York Jets. They and their rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, open in Carolina against Sam Darnold and the Panthers. Let the comparisons begin. I did love this from head coach Robert Saleh of the Jets. He has already told Zach Wilson, this organization is going to lift you, not the other way around. That sounds terrific from the Jets head coach. As for the New York Giants, the Giants, 20 years after 9/11, will see Denver again. This time the Broncos visiting MetLife Stadium to open the season on what promises to be an emotional day here. Let's go to Aditi Kinkhabwala next.
Thank you, Kim. It was at the Giants that the Steelers actually opened last season, and this year they are again on the road for the 7th consecutive year. The Steelers will open their season on the road. But perhaps what's more notable is that they're playing at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, who were just in the AFC title game. The Buffalo Bills, who are seemingly ascending. And yet this is a game at 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. 5 of the last 10 years, it was the Steelers who played in one of the coveted primetime spots the first weekend of the NFL season. But here's what else is happening in the AFC North. The Browns are facing the Chiefs, who of course have been to two consecutive Super Bowls at 4 p.m. And then the Ravens are playing Monday Night Football. And so this is a good chance for the Steelers to show we are still indeed here. Or perhaps it is a sign that there is a changing of the guard in the AFC North. Now let's head down to Dallas and James Slater.
Thanks, Aditi. Well, anything that could go wrong, it did last year. And if there's any fan base or an owner that's ready for his team to get back on the field, it is Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. And they are opening it up with a big one on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I thought it was interesting, if you wanted a little sizzle ahead of this, Tom Brady, who loves to take to Instagram and give us his thoughts, said he can't wait to face America's team with a bit of a wink. So it should be a good one. The Cowboys have only played them opening up the season in 3 games in their 21 seasons. And if there's one thing I think we're all looking forward to, that's how does Dak Prescott look? Haven't seen him on the field since October, but he spoke to our own Rich Eisen, and it was Mike McCarthy who said he's been doing everything he can to get back out there on the field, and he's been in the facility nearly every day. Now to Mike Yam with the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, Jane, we can table that Jimmy G, Trey Lance conversation for a bit thanks to the schedule release. And here's what we know. Week number 1, the Niners are going to hit the road and they'll match up against the Detroit Lions with Jared Goff at the helm. In fact, the Niners have actually had some good success, 4-0 in the last 2 seasons when he was wearing a Rams uniform, and he threw 4 picks in those games. The Niners will open the season shortly after, and whoever they play, well, the significance of that game is not lost on this community, considering they actually had to play their last 3 home games, the Niners, in the state of Arizona last year. Now, Levi Stadium has actually been a vaccination site the last couple months, and they've done a tremendous job. Over 300 doses have already been administered. The last time there were actually fans to watch a game, NFC Championship game 2 seasons ago. I know it kind of feels like a little bit of a lifetime, but there is a sense of optimism. You got the A's, the Giants, the Sharks, the Earthquakes, and the Warriors all allowing fans on a limited basis inside their venues. So the Niners are cautiously optimistic that they'll also be able to get some fans, considering the Bay Area, Rhett, has some of the lowest positivity rates in the entire country, and all those vaccinations that took place here at Levi Stadium will go a long way to hopefully filling up this stadium to capacity very soon.
Hope echoed by all of us as well. Mike Gam, thank you very much. Back here with Cynthia, Willie, and Chris. So we know the entire Week 1 slate, the full schedule coming to you from the home of the Rams and Chris's Chargers at SoFi Stadium about 50 minutes from now, right here on NFL Network. And as the anticipation builds here, Cynthia, what are you most excited about to learn when we get the full schedule?
Well, we've already known who everyone's going to play. We just didn't know when. So I'm looking at the weird back-to-back quarterback situations. It's really hard for teams, and I looked over the past few seasons, so this is proven with math. If you go from a quarterback like say, Lamar Jackson to, say, a Tom Brady or to, say, a more pocket passer, that's going to be more difficult. It can shift a team's full season win totals up to 0.7 games. That's a lot. That's a massive, almost 1-game swing just based on the sequencing.
That is high-level stuff right there. So that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? All right, Chris Harris, what are you looking forward to here? What are you most excited when the full schedule comes out?
With me as a player, I'm looking to see when are our conference games? When do we have the big games versus the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Broncos, and the way the schedule from seeing is looking like it's going to be in the middle and to the end of the season. So those count for big games going at the end of the year, big playoff type games, and I'm looking forward to those matchups for sure.
Right, and that full, all division game slate normally in Week 17, I guess
that's
now pushes
those
to
games
Week
that count.
18.
Those games really count.
Right,
they
Willie?
make a difference.
What are you looking forward to here, bud?
Well, how about the revenge games? Okay, the games that when you go back home, when you leave a team you've been on forever, and then you got to go back and play that team. Chris, you know about this. I do too. DeAndre Hopkins, okay, J.J. Watt, they get to go back and play the Texans. How's that going to work out? All right, Patrick Peterson, he'll go back and he'll play against the Cardinals, okay, a place he's been forever his entire career. And, of course, the biggest one of all, Gronk and Tom Brady will go back and see Belichick and the Patriots. I've been there. I know about the emotions. I know what goes through your mind. But most importantly, you want to win, and you want to play great in that game, which we didn't win when I went back to New England when I was with the Browns. But you do have something, a little chip and something on the calendar where you're excited about that one particular visit. And
let's dig in again on this 17th game now, right? We're talking about the biggest schedule in the history of the NFL here, Cynthia. How does your model appreciate 9-8 or I guess 7-10 as opposed to 8-8, right?
Let's be honest, it means we get probably an extra 2 weeks of playoff viability. So teams are going to be in it longer. We're going to have more meaningful games longer into the season. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be really interesting to see kind of who separates themselves. And like you said, if it's backloaded with your conference games, you're not going to be able to do that load management like basketball.
Nope.
These stars are going to be playing all the way till January.
18 weeks, 17 games, still one bye. Find out when that bye is this year will be even more important. And we're going to keep getting you ready for the biggest NFL season ever. You keep it right here on NFL Network for the 2021 NFL schedule release presented by Verizon with Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Kurt Warner, Michael Irvin, and Colleen Wolfe live from SoFi Stadium. It is that 2021 NFL schedule release presented by Verizon. Up next, right after NFL Total Access at 8 p.m. Eastern here on NFL Network. As I bring NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport here with us today. Some news out of Green Bay. Packers are signing Blake Bortles. Yeah. Now, here's the question, Ian. Do we know if they consulted Aaron Rodgers about this move?
What Blake Bortles is, and he, as you mentioned, signing a one-year deal with the Packers, they're on a visit. He's someone to get them through OTAs and potentially minicamp. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers not expected to be there during OTAs. Jordan Love, the only quarterback right now that's on the roster. So the former first-round pick Bortles, just someone to kind of get them through and serve as a camp arm. If it continues after that, we shall see. Some other news, maybe some more consequential on-field news. A little earlier today, Charles Leno, the former starting left tackle for the Chicago Bears, 7 years, did not miss a start for the Bears, then was released after the draft. He signed a one-year deal with the Washington football team, according to agent Ron Slavin. Gets a one-year deal worth $5 million. And for Washington, what this means is, one, they have a new starter on the left side. Two, Samuel Cosme, who they drafted in the second round, he gets to sit and learn this year during his rookie season.
First-round quarterbacks open as their team starter this season. But here's how those teams open up. Number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, on the road in Houston. Number 2 pick, Zach Wilson, begins with the Jets in Charlotte. Revenge game for the quarterback he's replacing now in New York. And so which of the next 3 quarterbacks has the best chance to start week 1? That answer is on the way as we say hello again to Willie McGinest, Cynthia Freeland, and our special guest today, Chargers corner Chris Harris Jr. And let's start right here with you, Willie, by looking at those number 1 and number 2 overall quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence with the Jags, Zach Wilson with the Jets. Which one of those guys, assuming that they both start week 1, has the most success early on here?
Well, they will. They probably will both start. And when you talk about 2 new coaches, 2 new systems, everything is new. I got to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. And the reason being because they have a running game that's in place right now with Robinson, and they just drafted Travis Etienne. So they got a running game which Urban Meyer loves to pound and run the football. And then for a young quarterback, what do you want to put around them? Veterans, okay? Marvin Jones Jr., Laviska Shenault, and they also got DJ Chalk. So they've got a lot of pieces in place that's already proven that are veterans, that's going to help a young quarterback with the system and play really well. And then it's the Texans. They're in disarray. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback. I don't know how they're going to score and generate a lot of points. And defensively, they do have some really good pieces, but not all there from the front 7 all the way to the back end. So they're playing against a weaker opponent, and I think the Jacksonville Jaguars right now is a way better team.
Cynthia, you falling in line there with Trevor Lawrence, or are you looking more towards Zach Wilson?
I'm absolutely falling in line with Trevor Lawrence. Why? Like Willie pointed out, it's really about the defense that he's facing. And the Texans struggled to get a pass rush last season. They didn't really address it in free agency. And J.J. Watt's no longer there. So when you look to see the opportunity for Trevor Lawrence to have a nice first win in the NFL, it is absolutely a much higher probability than for Zach Wilson against the Panthers defense. Yikes.
And Chris, how do you see it?
I got to go with Trevor Lawrence. I think he's just more NFL ready. I mean, he's been working for this. He's been knowing that he's going to be the number 1 pick for a couple years. And playing in Clemson, playing the talent that they've had to go against on the highest levels, he's shown that what he can do. And I think he'll have a smooth transition to the league. And having weapons, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, established running game, I like his chances of having great success definitely early in his career.
And just going back to last year for some context, Joe Burrow was the only rookie quarterback to start week 1. Yeah. Chris, you know that well. A narrow loss in that game to your LA Chargers.
And so bring that up.
I mean, Chris got the win. They started off hot.
Right. You got to welcome him into the league, right?
Exactly. And so the Carolina Panthers are going to get an opportunity to welcome Zach Wilson to the league as Sam Darnold welcomes in the quarterback that is likely taking his place there with the New York Jets. So we get a little revenge game. And Chris, you know Sam, you guys have played against his Jets once in your career. Which of those quarterbacks now, with new teams here, Wilson with the Jets, Darnold with the Panthers, is best set up for success?
Yes. I think Darnold. He needed a fresh breath of air. Going somewhere new can definitely help bring confidence to him. And he has nice receivers with Robbie Anderson, a guy that he's already played with before and had great connections with. So I see him having much improvement in Carolina and being able to definitely get right back on a nice track in his career.
Right.
Cynthia, is it all about the team here with the quarterback you feel like is best set up?
Yeah, I think it's a horrible opportunity for Zach Wilson in this first game because this defense got a lot better. Brian Burns was already there, but they brought more speed in the offseason to that defensive front. I know they also addressed the back of their defense as well. And by the way, when you look to see the O-line, I love Elijah Vera Tucker. That was a great pickup. But, there's that other guard side, and Brian Burns, he could come from that other side. So it's going to be a lot of pressure, I think, for Zach Wilson in this first matchup.
All right, Willie, you going to give Jets fans some hope here or what?
No, not at all. Because what they said was exactly right. That this defense is one of the better defenses in the league. And when they added to the secondary by drafting J.C. Horn, that just makes it tough to go along with A.J. Bouye. And like you said, Sam Darnold, he's not familiar with the new system that they're going to run in New York, but he knows the personnel and the guys that are there. So he knows where to attack some of these guys' tendencies. So he has a little familiarity when it comes to that Jets defense and the guys that are over there. And then when you look at Robert Saleh and what he's going to run, it's going to follow what they did in San Francisco, okay? They're going to get at you with their front seven. They're not going to be too difficult or disguise or do too much on the back end. Chris, you know this. A couple of coverages, he'll be able to figure that out. And the offensive coordinator, Brady, I think, will be able to put him in position to make some good plays. And Christian McCaffrey, we forget that this kid is also on the team. They're going to figure out ways to dismantle the Jets defense, I think, early on. Zach just have too many holes to fill. They did a great job in the draft. They got a lot of good pieces, but they're still young and they need to put it all together.
And for Sam Darnold, you remember the number 3 overall pick back in the 2018 draft. Trey Lance, the number 3 pick of the San Francisco 49ers this year, followed by Justin Fields to the Bears, and then Mac Jones to the New England Patriots, rounding out the 5 quarterbacks selected in the first round. So looking, Chris, at those last 3 quarterbacks to go in the first round, which one of those 3 do you feel like has the best chance to start for their team week 1?
I think Justin Fields. I think he's a guy that's coming into the league. He's very polished. I don't know where he got it, the label that he's not polished or is not fundamentally sound. He has it all. He's a guy, I think, in this system, it's a similar system to what the Chiefs run and what Matt Nagy has as an offensive coordinator. And I think you spread the ball out, let him choose where he wants to go, have a run option. I think he can be very special in this type of offense.
All right, Willie, you going to give us some insight into a potential QB competition here in your old stomping grounds in New England, or what? What do you think?
No, not at all. I think Cam Newton's going to be the starter like they mentioned early on, and Mac is going to learn. If he beats him out, he beats him out. But the 2 starters, I would say, is Trey Lance and, of course, Justin Fields. And if I got to pick one, I'm going to go with Justin Fields. And the reason being, they may trade Jimmy G before the season even starts because of how exciting and what Trey Lance can do in that system. But Justin Fields, okay, you move up 9 picks. You call him a generational talent that is versatile, that can do every single thing within your offense. He's a phenom. He's very smart. He has great football IQ. And when you look at Matt Nagy and his offense and spreading open and opening up the playbook, he checks every single box. So I don't see why you would move up to get a guy that can do everything that's versatile, that can make some exciting plays, not only with his arm, but with his feet, and you hold him back. There's no reason to hold him back when he gives you the best opportunity to win. And that's what it's all about. That's why they moved up to get him, because they want to win football games.
All right, Cynthia, what are you thinking here?
Well, I'm going to plead the case for Trey Lance because Justin Fields has to face Aaron Donald and the Rams. That's not a, welcome to the NFL moment. I don't think Aaron Donald would be my pick for that. When I look to see an opportunity for success, the Lions defense is a great place to start, especially if you have Kyle Shanahan architecting what you're going to be doing. Why? Because their secondary, they didn't really address it. I understand they're getting a little healthier, but when you look to see Trey Lance, the opportunity to run on the Lions, he could get those easier passes completed and have a nice entree. He hasn't played football in a while. Maybe we get him started fast. That's a nice start. A lot easier than Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald.
See, Cynthia, you said that he hasn't played football a lot. So if Jimmy G is still there, I agree with you. If Jimmy G's not there automatically, and he could beat Jimmy G out. Now, here's the scenario, though. You got an over $100 million quarterback who knows the system inside out. And typically for teams, they want to get off to a fast start. So do you get a guy that knows the entire system that's going to give you a pretty good win against the Lions, or you say, hey, we're going to sit our $100 million guy down and we're going to start the kid?
We haven't ruled out the Packers yet,
That might be a distraction.
Huh?
That might be a distraction.
Have you ruled out the Packers yet? Just saying.
Yeah, well, the
there
Packers
you go. Good point.
are a conversation we will have on this show as we continue here on NFL Total Access. The most fascinating Week 1 matchup may be that one in New Orleans between the Saints, led by a quarterback yet to be determined, and the Packers, led by, well, a quarterback yet to be determined. Up next, will Aaron Rodgers be on that field? And if so, what uniform will he be wearing? There's another look inside SoFi Stadium, where you will get all 272 regular season games reviewing inside SoFi Stadium and right here on NFL Network, your 2021 schedule release, presented by Verizon at 8 p.m. Eastern. Like we mentioned with Brady at the top of the show, Aaron Rodgers, too, with a phenomenal opening weekend winning percentage, 10-3. He's won 6 in a row dating back to the 2015 opener, which also was the last for fullback John Kuhn in a Packers uniform, who tried to lend some insight to the Packers' QB quandary on NFL Now today.
I'm sure a contract is part of that. I'm sure the years guaranteed is a part of that, not just being a highest paid quarterback or the highest paid at your position, but I believe the security going forward is a part of that. And I also believe being on the same page is having open communication where all sides feel like they are being heard. Aaron and I are friends. I mean, we spent a decade of our lives together in the same meeting rooms, on the same practice field. So we do talk. And quite frankly, this is something that I believe is fixable.
Believes it is fixable. So Packers fans, he's saying there's a chance. Rhett Lewis, Chris Harris Jr., Willie McGinest, and Cynthia Freeland here. And Cynthia, let's take John Kuhn's comments into consideration and the schedule. So let's go down to New Orleans, week 1, down at the Superdome. Will Aaron Rodgers be in the starting lineup for the Packers?
I don't think so. I'm not obviously sure here, but when you look at his contract for some clues, we're kind of getting near this dead money portion. So the guaranteed part of the contract has been paid. When that happens, it's kind of anyone's game how to restructure it. So if it doesn't get done, I feel like we're at a standoff point where it's it's Brian or it's Aaron, and Aaron is a more scarce resource.
Yeah, he definitely is. And you talk about a scared resource. You know what, Chris? I'm gonna let you go because there's something I want to say to Buddy.
Okay, all right, Chris, what do you got?
There's one thing you can fix this problem, and is give him the money. Show the man the money.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Hey, add a couple of extra years on there, man. Make him feel secure, and that'll solve that problem with Aaron Rodgers fast. He'll want to stay there, and like Kuhn said, open it up for him. Give him a chance to have some influence on who we draft, because just keeping it 100, their drafts haven't been the best draft picks. So I think he does need some influence in that, and pay him, give him a little influence. And you got one of the best quarterbacks in league history to be able to play and finish his career there.
And that's why I wanted you to go before I did, because the money is one thing, right? Guaranteed, being secure, and make sure that's there. But the influence and changing the structure within the personnel, the coaching, the players, and all the things that they have in place that they've pretty much been successful doing the last few years. They were in the NFC Championship last year. The offense scored the most points and all that. We can go down the line. MVP for Aaron Rodgers. Now, the other thing is, if you can't get along with the GM and you're not on the same page, and I'm not willing to give you that equity and that partnership that he really wants, and Aaron says, okay, I'm not gonna play. You got Jordan Love, who's not ready. You got Blake Bortles, who we know who he is as a player. He has the leverage still. This team won't be the same. The coaches want Aaron. Aaron knows that there is nobody on the roster like him, and he has a value that's really, really high. Can they get the value for him now with the picks and the trades and all those different things? We don't know. So guess what? You better try to work something out with some friends you have in the league. Probably San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy G is not going to be a backup at $100 million. He wants to move. He wants to be a starter. That's why he left New England. So let's make a trade to get a real guy that can come in and play a system that he's familiar with and probably be pretty good in that system, that Aaron's just not laughing at these other guys that you got backing him up right now.
What do you think about that?
I don't want to say it, man, but Denver would be a great spot for Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to say it. But,
say it. Go ahead.
I face them, and then that's my whole team. So, but I think that'd be a good place, kind of following what Peyton did, following that kind of footsteps of ending your career there. They got some solid offensive weapons. So, of course, they probably have to give a lot away in that package. But I see that could be definitely a location for him, too.
We talked about that scenario on Monday, didn't we, Cynthia?
It's one of the 3 that we mentioned.
Just out of curiosity.